Hello and welcome to Idea TV News Updates. This evening, I am Paul Oladikpo. We begin straight up with the headlines. Customs Service appoints new Lagos Industrial Area Commander. And also Professor KOMOLAFE is elected to World Sleep Society Governing Council. Meanwhile, in Ivory Coast, we see that Ivory Coast Iron Lady Simone GBAGBO cleared to run for president. And away from Africa, we see that Charlie Clark, a suspected killer, is in custody after confessing to his father. And in London, 1,000 march in London as rights and anti-racism protests clash in rival rallies. And also in health, we see here that BURULI ULCER outbreak confirmed in ADAMAWA community. And also in business, we see that Nigeria spends 4 trillion naira on fuel imports in the first half of 2025. And finally in sports, we see a story of Lagos to host African MMA Championship. And now we'll move on to the news in full. The Nigerian Customs Service has announced the appointment of Comptroller Adebola Salawu as the new head of his Lagos Industrial Area Command. The service announced this on its official X handle on Saturday, confirming that Salawu takes over from Comptroller Wadini, who recently retired after years of service. At a handing over ceremony held at Command's headquarters in Festac Town, the outgoing Comptroller was commended for her leadership and also community projects. Under her watch, Festac Senior Grammar School benefited from initiatives including a water treatment plant and an e-library, a photocopier, and refurbished toilet facilities. In her welfare remarks, she expressed gratitude to the Comptroller General of Customs, Adewale Adeniyi, and urged officers to give her full support to her successor. Salawu further stressed the importance of in-house training and stakeholder engagement as key steps to boosting exercise performance and also contribute to national economic growth. And now we see that the Nigerian Sleep Society, the World Sleep Society, has announced that its president, Professor Morenikeji Komolafe, has been elected into the governing council of the World Sleep Society. The election, which took place during the 2025 World Sleep Congress in Singapore, where experts from across the globe gathered to deliberate on advances in sleep health. Professor Komolafe emerged as the member at large representing Africa, a position that places her at the heart of global decision-making in the sleep medicine. The Nigerian Sleep Society described our election as a landmark achievement, noting that it is not the only highlight of our personal contribution, but also to sleep research, but also it gives Nigeria and also Africa a stronger voice in shaping international health policies. Professor Komolafe, who is a distinguished neurologist and also academic in Obafemi Awolowo University, has been a leading advocate for greater awareness of sleep disorders in Nigeria. A new role is expected to foster stronger collaboration that will benefit both the continent and also global communities. And in Ivory Coast, the First Lady Simone has been cleared to contest for the country's presidential election in October, making an extraordinary political comeback. The 76-year-old, once known as the Iron Lady, was the influential partner of the former president Laurent Gbagbo, and a powerful force within the ruling Ivorian Popular Front. After years in the shadows, including time spent hiding in a bunker to avoid arrest during the 2011 political crisis, Simone now emerges as a presidential hopeful in her own right. She has a criminal She has a criminal conviction and a divorce behind her. But at rallies, she has called on Ivorians to help build a new nation. Admired by supporters who calls her Mamana and feared by rivals for her toughness, Gbagbo is now set to test her influence at the ballot box more than a decade after a dramatic fall from power. And now moving on to the US, a 22-year-old man from Utah has been arrested over the killing of right-wing activist Charlie Kirk, who was shot dead while on stage at a university event earlier this week. The suspect, Tyler Robinson, was taken into custody on Thursday night after a 33-hour manhunt. Authorities say that Robinson confessed to his father that he carried out the shooting and initially threatened to take his own life. His father and a family pastor persuaded him to surrender. Police confirmed that Robinson was wearing the same clothes seen on campus surveillances. They also recovered the suspected murder weapon, a bolt-action rifle hidden in the nearby woods. Investigators say that the rifle bore inscription referencing anti-fascist slogan and the Italian resistance song Bella Ciao. Formal charges including aggravated murder and obstruction of justice are expected to be filed on Tuesday. The shooting shocked the nation and forced the closure of Utah Valley University, where students say that they are relieved that the suspect is now in custody. Meanwhile, in London, we see that thousands of people have taken to the streets for rival demonstration, a far-right rally led by an activist, Tommy Robinson, and a counter-protest by anti-racism campaigner. The Metropolitan Police have deployed over 1,000 officers, including 500 drafted in from outside forces. To maintain order, barriers were set up around the group paths, with crowd gathering near the Waterloo Bridge for Robinson's Unite the Kingdom march. Also, a stage prepared in the Whitehall for speeches by figures including Steve Bannon, Kate Coppins, and also flags, banners, and chants filled the street with slogans such as "Stop the Boats" and "Unite the Kingdom." At the same time, around 500 counters demonstrators rallied near the Russell Square under the banner of March Against Fascism, organized by Stand Up to Racism, and the group carried placards "Oppose Team Robinson" and "Refugee Welcome." MP Dan Abbott and also Sarah Sultana are expected to address the gathering as protesters move towards the Parliamentarian Square. The Met Police said it would not be using live facial recognition for the marches, but acknowledged concerns among Muslim communities about Robinson's history of anti-Muslim rhetorics. Commander KIRK'S urged calm and also stressing officers would take a firm line against the hate crimes and act without fear or favor. Authorities orders the far-right rally to end by 6 p.m. and the counter-protest by 4 p.m. in line with organizers' plans. We're going on a quick break now. Once we return, we'll bring you more updates. Welcome back, and now we'll be moving on to stories. If you're just joining us, this is the Idea TV news updates, and now we're moving on to the rest of the news. Moving on to the sector of health, we see that health officials in Adamawa State have confirmed an outbreak of BURULI ULCER in Malabu districts, that's in a Fure local government area. The disease caused by Mycobacterium ocerina has already infected several residents and also prompting urgent intervention from the Adamawa State Primary Healthcare Development Agency. Medical teams have been deployed into the communities to carry out assessments, administer treatment, and curb further spread. Some patients, however, have been transferred to the Modibo Adama University Teaching Hospital in Yola for specialized care. The BURULI ULCER, a neglected tropical disease, is a neglected tropical disease and can cause large and painful skin wounds and if untreated may result into severe tissue damage or permanent disabilities. While often linked to contaminated water, its exact mode of transmission remains unclear to experts. Authorities say that some residents are, however, reluctant to accept medical treatment, attributing symptoms to non-medical causes. Public health officials are currently urging cooperation, stressing that early treatment offers the best chance of recovery. Also, awareness campaign and containment measures are now being put in place to encourage early diagnosis and also prevent the outbreak from escalating in the area. And now in business, we see that Nigeria has spent about 4 trillion naira on fuel imports in the first 6 months of this year. Figures from the National Bureau of Statistics show the country spent 2.3 trillion naira on fuel imports in the second quarter of 2025, following the 1.76 trillion in the first quarter, bringing the first half total to 4 trillion naira. At the current exchange rate of 1,550 naira to a dollar, this amount is about $2.58 billion. For perspective, Nigeria spent 15.4 trillion naira on fuel imports in the whole of 2024, a burden that strained foreign reserves and worsened naira volatility. Petrol remains Nigeria's most imported product from the ECOWAS region, with over 288 billion naira worth of imports recorded in the second quarter alone. This underscores the country's continued resilience in imported refined products, despite growing local refinery capacities like facilities like the Dangote refinery. Expert says that the figure reveals that Nigeria's journey towards a self-sufficiency in fuel refinery is moving more slowly than expected. They are calling on the government to introduce fiscal policy that supports local refineries and encourages excessive fuel imports. Analysts warn that if the current pace continues, Nigeria's fuel imports bill for 2025 could rival or even exceed last year's figure. In a recent development, Nigeria recently imported more crude from the United States than it exported. An historic reversal attributed to the growing demand from the Dangote refinery, which is expected to reach its full capacity of 650,000 barrels per day later this year. And finally, in sports, we see that Lagos Championship, Lagos has made history as they are set to host the African Fighting Championship World Series, lighting up the Teslim Balogun Stadium with thrills of mixed martial arts actions. The 4-day tournament, which begins on Thursday, features over 100 fights that concludes on Sundays, with medals to be presented by National Sports Commission Chairman and the Director General, a symbolic show of government support for the MMA's growth in Nigeria. This is the first African private promotion officially recognized as a continental ranking and scoring platform for MMA, sanctioned by Nigeria MMA Federation founder Radi Aswani, who says that the event is designed not to create champions inside the cage, but also to nurture leaders, innovators, and entrepreneurs outside it. The championship both features female and also male fighters, including 4 strawweight athletes among the 76 competitors. The NMMAF president, Enrique George, says the event is strictly supervised under international standard, with athletes required to compete at least 10 fights before turning professional to ensure safety and proper progression. UFC star Sadiq Yusuf, who is supporting the event, praises the initiative and calls for greater technical training in wrestling and grappling to fully unlock Nigeria's MMA potential. Organizer says that the AFC World Series firmly places Africa on the world combat sports map and positions Nigeria to play a defining role in shaping its future. And that'll be all that we have for you on the Idea TV updates today. But before we go, let's take a recap of our headlines. At the very beginning, we brought to you for a story from the Customs saying that Customs Service appoints new Lagos Industrial Area Commander. And also we told you that Professor KOMOLAFE elected to World Sleep Society Governing Council. And in Ivory Coast, we see that Iron Lady GBAGBO cleared to run for presidency. And away from Africa, we see that Charlie Clark's suspected killer is in custody after confessing to father. And also we see that thousands march in London as far rights and also anti-racism protesters clash in rival rallies. And in health, we see there that BURULI ULCER outbreak confirmed in ADAMAWA community. And also in business, we see that Nigeria spends 4 trillion on fuel imports in the first half of 2025. And finally in sports, we brought to you that Lagos is to host an historic African MMA championship. And I guess that will be all on the news updates. Do not forget to follow us on all our social media platforms at Idea Television. My name remains Paul Olatukpo, and this was the news updates.